Hello everyone, this is Evie the Original Master here with a new discussion video for you guys today. So in this discussion video, from the title of this video, I want to talk about how Nintendo could bring back charm into their games like they used to do back in the days of the N64, the GameCube, and the Nintendo DS. So the first thing I want to talk about is the way how the games are opened. What I mean by this is that whenever you put in a game, whether it's an N64 game, a GameCube game, or a Nintendo DS game, the game will usually boot up with the developers. Like you'll see the developers logo, and you'll see the different companies who developed the game. That's usually how games boot up whenever the title screen appears on screen. In the N64 and GameCube era and the DS era of Nintendo, whenever the company's logo appears on screen, you will most likely hear the characters say Nintendo, such as Luigi's Mansion, Yoshi's Story, Pikmin, the Mario and Luigi series on the Game Boy and the DS games. That's what I meant by that. And most likely it will be Mario or Yoshi or some other character will say it. And it actually really brings the charm into the games. Nowadays, on the Wii U and Nintendo Switch, Nintendo have completely stopped doing that for their games, and I don't know why they stopped doing it. It used to been a really cool feature, but they don't do that anymore. I don't know what made the developers stop doing that, but I kind of wish that they actually brought that back because it actually made the games more charmful or charming and a lot more appealing. So that's one of the things that I wish Nintendo could actually bring back into their games is to bring back the characters saying Nintendo whenever you boot up the game for the very first time. So another thing that I want to talk about are the Mii characters. Now, ever since the Wii era with the Mii channel, the Mii's have been a very important character in the Nintendo universe because it's your character that you create, and there are lots of games that used to feature the Mii's. After the Wii U era, the Mii characters have just been thrown under the bus with the Nintendo Switch is because that there isn't any games featured the Mii's anymore. The Mii Maker have been shoved over to the system settings of the Nintendo Switch. Like whenever you open the Nintendo Switch system settings, and if you scroll down, you'll see the word Mii Maker, and that's where you can create your Mii. And I'm like, why couldn't Nintendo just make a in-game app that allows you to create your Mii's right from the Nintendo Switch menu? But no, it's not. That's not the case because the Mii Maker is just shoved over to the system settings, meaning that Nintendo probably just doesn't care about the Mii's anymore, and that's disappointing because there's lots of videos out there of why people adored the Mii's and why they were such great characters and there were such great Mii titled games such as Wii Sports, Wii Fit, Miitopia for the Nintendo 3DS, Tomodachi Life, and Nintendo Land. Those are some games that I've mentioned that features the Mii characters as big roles. And that used to be the good old time of Nintendo, but nowadays the Mii characters are just irrelevant. And it's kind of sad because the Mii characters were such fun characters that you can create from your Wii, your Nintendo 3DS, your Wii U. But now on the Switch, they just threw that under the bus. And I wish they could focus more on the Mii characters, but it's Nintendo, and I guess they just don't care anymore, and that's pretty sad to hear that. The last thing that I want to talk about are the Nintendo Switch cases, which are some of the most blandest cases that Nintendo had developed throughout the years. So, of course, in the Wii era, the GameCube era, N64 era, back before Nintendo became eco-friendly, Nintendo will always throw in so much packaging in their cases for their games, such as an instruction manual. There were times where it will show you, it will have like, I don't know, like a system guarantee, or it shows like a packaging that if you have a problem with your console, you can call this number and have Nintendo fix the console for you, stuff like that. And nowadays, Nintendo had switched over to an electronic manual when I think they started doing that around the mid to late 2010s decade when they switched over to electronic manuals for the Wii U and the Nintendo 3DS games, which is actually fine because it was still an instruction manual, but it was electronically, meaning you can open it up right from your system, such as the Nintendo 3DS and the Nintendo Wii U. But for the Nintendo Switch, electronic manuals just doesn't exist anymore because all of their Switch games doesn't have those anymore. And I don't know why, because why did Nintendo got rid of the electronic manuals? Like, why did they get rid of the electronic manuals? How am I supposed to know how to play the game if there's no electronic manual? Well, all of those in-game instructions are actually built into the games that you play. Like for Super Mario Odyssey, the controls of the game are actually in the game itself. So when you play Super Mario Odyssey, if you pause the game, there's actually an option for you to look at the game's controls. There is no electronic manual. There's none of that. Instead, the Nintendo Switch cases actually have little artwork that sits behind the actual box art of the game, which is a nice touch, but it's pretty bare bones. It's because that there's no little manual anymore because Nintendo had went eco-friendly. They started to do electronic manuals, but after the Wii U, that just doesn't exist anymore because the manuals are actually straight into the game, meaning when you play the game, the NPCs will tell you how to play through the game, like press A to jump, shake the Joy-Con to spin, stuff like that. And it's sad. It's really sad to see that Nintendo had became this way, and they still do put effort into their games, but not a lot of effort, such as electronic manuals, printed manuals, the characters saying Nintendo whenever you boot up the game, whenever it's a first party game, of course, and the Mii characters. Those are the three main things that I think put charm into Nintendo's games. And now all that is gone. Nintendo has completely stopped doing that, and they've completely moved on to being as bland as ever. And I hope that they'll fix that in the later years because I wish Nintendo wasn't like that. But that's all I have to say. What are your thoughts about this? What are ways that you think Nintendo could do to actually bring back the charm into their games? Please let me know in the comments below. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you guys next time with more content. Goodbye.